Adrian Tolentino, my buddy, owner of DryPro Inc. Uh, listen, you've seen the podcast. I want to talk about business and the story. So, start at the beginning. You've obviously grown a lot, and I've known you for a long time. But for everybody else who doesn't, and there's maybe not as many people that don't know your story because you've been
Mhm.
around town for a while, but just give me the story of how we know you today.
Yeah, a little bit of the genesis story, if I
Yeah.
may. Yeah, well, thanks, Mike, first of all, for having me. I've watched a lot of your episodes, and I appreciate you being here. Thank you for your time. Yeah, man. So it's cool, like how this whole little baby began. I've been in retail and restaurant and financial services, and I always knew I wanted to do something for myself. So 2016 hit, and I had a business partner at the time. He had some experience in the industry. So I'm in the water, fire, and mold industry, for those who don't know. And we were basically like saw an opportunity. He worked up in New Jersey when Hurricane Sandy hit and did really well. He said, Adrian, you know a lot of people, been here for a long time. I know you, I trust you. And then we went and we started the company. So that was like, all right, this is a good industry. We did some research. We talked to a couple of attorneys and haven't looked back ever since. So it's we're
Yeah.
coming. We just had our 8 year anniversary this
Wow, that's
month.
awesome.
Thank
Congrats.
you, thank you. A long time.
Yeah.
A lot has
A
changed
lot has
too.
changed.
Yeah, for sure. But it's all been good, thankfully.
Yeah, from being a
Hmm.
founder to having a established business, it
Yeah.
takes a lot. And
And
now
then
you're
the last 3 years, I bought out my partner, so I've been solo 100%. So that's been fun, learning a lot more, and
yeah,
yeah, but it's been great. It's been an amazing journey. Love it.
that's awesome. And how long you been and how'd you come to this area?
So we moved in 1996. My dad's work brought him to an office in downtown Bradenton. So we were living in Puerto Rico. We came here, and it's like our coming to America story.
Yeah.
So I would say I moved to America in 96. So I've been here, what's that, 28 years now already?
Wow.
So, and in this area, seen it
Yeah.
grow from where it was to what it is now, and so much growth, opportunity, community, all of the things that have come with that. So it's been amazing. I love
Yeah.
it. I love where we live.
Yeah. No, it's an
Yeah.
awesome place and it's grown a lot.
Hmm.
Obviously, it's been a burgeoning area for trades businesses for sure, right?
Absolutely.
I think a lot of Florida has done that.
Yeah, but especially especially where
Yeah.
we live, like
Yeah.
this area has been insane. Like
Booming.
anyone that's in any sort of trade, if you're good at your job, you should have plenty of business. It's just a
Yeah.
matter of being able to market it. Like if you know
Yeah.
how to market yourself, because
Take care of your clients,
taking care of
customers.
your
Yeah.
clients for sure. Yeah.
So why water, fire, mold?
So ironically, it's funny because A, there was a need that we saw. B, in Florida, you can identify a lot of opportunities in it. So we have the natural disasters that tend to happen quite a bit, the amount of people that live here, snowbirds that are here sometime, but not all the time. So they come home and their home could be completely different from when they left it. The amount of new construction, the amount of construction that's out there that may or may not be up to par standards. All of
What? We never see that.
exactly. So I'm not going to name any builders, but I know that I've had clients come up to me and say, we have this issue, we have this issue, and they're on newer homes, and
Yeah.
these people probably shouldn't be my clients, but they are. So all of those factors go into it. And then the good thing with how we operate is, we're most of my business is with insurance, so the homeowner they don't have to pay us directly, so that's like a good burden that's off their plate,
Sure.
especially because no one's excited to call DryPro. It's not ever a fun call like, "Hey, I'm so glad you're here. My roof caved in or my AC leaked all over." So,
Sure.
um, when you're dealing with that part, we can take it off the stressor of the homeowner. That's also like one of the advantages. So,
Yeah.
all of those reasons, I would say.
So you saw an opportunity 8 years ago. Fast forward today, 8 years. What do you see as the biggest sort of open opportunity in your space? Like what's the real sort of focus now?
I think just continuing to grow it. There's so much room for growth, and with my company, we're not a franchise, so we're not constricted to any area. So, we have grown a good amount in Manatee and Sarasota. Like I want everyone to know Adrian DryPro, especially in Lakewood Ranch.
Yeah.
It's my home, it's my community. But it's really just expansion. We serve the Tampa Bay area. We have some contacts in Orlando. So it's really just kind of going to those major areas and just continuing to grow the fleet, grow the team, and be able to service those areas and service them well,
Yeah.
where it's not like stretching us too far apart.
Yeah.
That's really the growth
What
goal.
what it was like, obviously jumping into owning a business, which you've done other things that have been sort of entrepreneurial, right, in the
Mhm.
past, but what was sort of your biggest fear or challenge, and what is that, and how has that changed to from sort of the start to where you are now?
Yeah, in the beginning is you're like, where's the work gonna come from? Like generating your own leads. Like every single day I would wake up and I'm like, I don't know where the next job is coming from or when it's coming. So it's definitely scary. And at first, the payroll was just myself and my partner. So all right, we just gotta
Yeah,
make sure we can eat today. But then as we're growing, it's like, all right, now we gotta have more business because we have more staff and more vehicles. So it really is that day to day, like, all right, is that phone gonna ring? Thankfully, it rings now because I've done a good job of building the brand
mhm,
and marketing myself. So initially, when's that next job coming? Now it's just to make sure that our processes and our procedures and protocols are all just being executed as fine as
yeah,
possible. There's a lot of delicacies with what we do.
sure,
So people's health, people's homes. So just as flawless execution as possible
yeah,
is the goal now. Where before it was
yeah,
like, get that next job, which we
yeah,
still want to get it, but
sure,
that's where we're just making sure all the processes are tightened up.
yeah. No, I mean, listen, one of the things that I love about you and your business is that you are highly intentional and focused on doing the right thing, and the end result comes from that people know that, and that
Hmm.
they're going to send you the next person that comes around, right? Because I guess there's a bunch of companies out there now doing
Yeah,
what you're doing, right? But
exactly.
they trust Adrian, they trust DryPro to do that job because of the good quality of work, the hands-on, the
Yeah.
fact that you're gonna show up, you're gonna do it right. And in trades, I feel like that is the biggest opportunity.
Yeah.
There's a
We
lot of
would,
them out there
yeah.
doing things. Not a lot are done well, and then there's not a lot of trust when it is done
Right.
sometimes, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And I think, like you said, a lot of competition now. Apparently, word got out that you could make a lot of money doing this, which I'm like, that's a great concept. But if you're not good, if you don't know how to bill it properly, if you don't have all the proper, licensing and everything, it can come
Yeah.
quick. So 100% that's an opportunity because not a lot of people are doing this thing the right way. Everyone just kind of sees like a gold mine, but you have to know what you're doing. And that's
Yeah.
like we said with all the trades, like there's
Yeah.
definitely a need. I mean, think about how many people have moved here in the last
Yeah.
4 or 5 years that aren't from here. So they have to trust Google or a neighbor for a plumber, an electrician, a roofer, a handyman, a painter, restoration, your trade for advising. Like
Yeah.
it's very overwhelming if you don't have those
Right.
contacts. So it's 100% for me. It's very relationship based. My clients all have my cell phone. I say, if you guys need anything, call me or text me and like try to get that as soon as possible for them. So
Yeah.
I still have a lot of physical touch with my business. I don't want to lose that as we scale. But I know that it can a
Yeah.
little bit, but I want to maintain that because that's, I think, what
Yeah.
sets us apart.
What do you how many trucks do you have, and how many guys and
We've
girls
got
you have
4
now?
trucks on the road. I've got 2 two-man crews per truck, and then depending on the business, then we have more people available. So, for instance, Hurricane Debbie just happened, and we had all hands on deck. Follow us on our social media at drypro.fl at Instagram. You'll see the photos. We were definitely in the mud, as I like to say, like I was walking in
Yeah.
knee-deep water.
Yeah.
We did over a dozen houses in 2 weeks with just partnered up with another restoration company who's a good friend of mine, his resources, my resources, and it was all hands on deck. So if in case of emergency, when catastrophe hits, we have the resources. I have
Yeah.
all of the guys available to do everything that we need. But the normal
Yeah.
day-to-day stuff, we're just running like our normal crews with that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that, like, when a storm comes through, it's like
Yeah.
emergency.
That phone rings and rings and rings and it's a
Yeah.
little stressful. And you just help as many people as you
Yeah.
can. That's really it.
How operationally as a business owner do things have to change between sort of, hey, the normal day to day to when there's a name storm coming
Yeah.
and we know there's going to be this massive sort of back log of things
Sure.
we need to do.
So it's like good and bad, like there's going to be a lot of business. So that's like the positive of it. But you have to prepare. You have to prepare. So there is the making sure that all your equipment is ready, making sure all the vans are stocked, making sure that your guys are ready because they know they're going to be working 6, 7 days, be working a lot of days. So the preparation is key. When you can show up on the day after the storm and you're ready to start working, that's when the people need you the most. So
Yeah.
that's really like the execution is in the preparation,
Yeah.
which in most successful businesses is probably the case, but specifically for anything
Yeah.
catastrophic or hurricane related, man, like if you're not ready, like you miss that first day, if you're not first or second on site, your competition just drove right by you,
Yeah.
and they're there and they're signing people up.
Yeah,
So
and not necessarily the best company, just
yeah, and you see a lot of out
whoever
of
got there
towners,
first. Yeah.
during catastrophe. People's there's a lot of money in it. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
like you have to get roofers, you get the tree removal people, you get the public adjusters, you get the plumbers, all of the people that are working in homes, all the construction guys. So
Yeah.
people's again, their eyes light up. But if you don't know what you're doing, if you don't know the
Yeah.
area, if you don't have the trust, like it's not going to happen. Like
Yeah, you want someone who can trust during those catastrophes because you have a lot of people just coming in there just with the not many signs in their eyes, right? Not
exactly.
necessarily the best of intentions
Yeah.
always. Yeah, that
And I
makes
was
sense.
fortunate in this most recent storm because the referrals that I was getting were like people that already had my number, people that have known me for years. It was like former coworkers, former high school friends whose parents still live in the same house. So colleagues, friends of friends. So every job that we did was basically a referral. So like
Yeah,
in my community in Lakewood Ranch. So like
right.
where I live, where I grew up.
Yeah,
So the
yeah.
power of the referral.
Proud of the referral.
Yeah.
Man, can't
No
beat that.
objections.
No objections, can't
We
beat that.
yeah, so
Just
we
show
could
up and do the work.
yeah, we can start
Yeah.
right now. Perfect. So
To your comment about prep, I had listened to a Hormozy
mhm,
podcast, and it was just literally all about prep.
yeah,
And it's the one thing that a lot of people just don't do. They just show up and wing stuff, and you can
right,
do well. And I think the people who do okay in that can be good, and
yeah,
they'll always be good.
right,
And this is another shout out to my buddy Jordan Montgomery. He was talking about this the other day in our
mhm,
business, and he was saying, "Listen, like you're here because you're good, and you can show up and wing things,
right,
and you're always going to be good." And so it's like sort of a bad thing because you don't necessarily need to prep,
right,
or but could you be great if you just did a little extra prep?
of course.
And it's that thing. It's like, hey, I looked you up, and I saw you move to the country, in the past, and your family, immigrated here. Like
Yeah,
knowing just little things about people before you show up to talk to them, and having some preparation in your business, but
yeah,
also just whatever your business is, right?
right,
Just that it could be 5 minutes of me just go online, like do something before I
yeah,
show up here and just say, okay, what's up? Like,
yeah,
why am I asking you all these questions versus I should have the best possible questions to ask you because I already know
right.
certain things about you, right?
Yeah, especially your business. Yours is a relationship business,
Yeah.
so, like, the more you can relate to the person, the more you're
Yeah.
approachable, they're gonna wanna do business with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
The preparation thing is funny, so I'm a big Kobe Bryant fan. We just had his birthday is 8/23, Kobe Day is 8/24, and all of his highlights and all his stuff pulls up on my Facebook and on Instagram, and it's so funny because he'll say he's, like, with his teammates at the time, he's like, "I'm not gonna pass that guy the ball. He got here 10 minutes before practice, and he leaves right after practice." He's like, "He doesn't put in the prep. He doesn't put in the time. Why would I pass him the ball? I don't trust him."
Yeah.
And he's in there, hours before practice, hours after practice. So it's like we don't have 9 to 5s. Like we have
Yeah.
8 to 8s and nights and weekends and, mixed time and
Yeah.
family. So the prep, man, the prep and
Can't
shout
beat
out to
that.
my boy Kobe. That's my
Yeah.
guy. I
Go.
love him. So yeah, man. But it's relative, to the prep. Prep is the key.
Yeah. And it's like depending on what you're doing, just certain amounts of that preparation, the time you spend changes, but just
Mhm.
having something done is always
Right.
good
Exactly, of
versus
course.
nothing.
Yeah, like you've been in your industry a while, I've been in my industry a while, so you become an expert. So it
Yeah.
kind of can come off easily. So you're saying similar things over and over and over. So you don't have to think about it that much. But there's going to be those specific times,
Yeah.
those specific clients, that specific
Yeah.
instance where you have to really
That
make that
1%.
connect.
Yeah, that 1% difference or something makes a big difference. And especially when there's competition,
Yeah,
and you do a better job, and you're like, why am I not getting the result? Well,
right.
put a little extra on the front end, if I can say anything about that, it always makes a big difference
Yeah,
when I can ask like a unique question that is because I already know something about
right.
that person, right?
Exactly. I mean, in your field, there's a lot of advisors in town. So what makes the Calamaras group stand out?
Yeah.
It's Michael. Like
Yeah.
you're the difference maker. You're the
Yeah.
relationship. You're the knowledge. You're the hub.
Yeah.
And with your team, same for us. Like I love when I can get a job and my competitor was throwing out a bid out there too. Or if I've seen them on job sites, it just happened during Debbie. I saw a guy from a competitor. I said hi to him. I know him. We ended up getting the job. We were a smaller business. This was one of the bigger companies, but the homeowner asked, "What's your difference?" I was like, "Pricing wise, will probably be about the same. Like, you're gonna get me, and I live here, and I'm 10 minutes away. If
Yeah.
you need anything, it's me." So like,
Yeah.
that's really the difference.
Yeah. For sure. So you mentioned referrals, like
Yeah,
building a business, right? So tell me about building your business. In the beginning, it was where's my next job coming from?
yeah,
Now it's word of mouth. You establish that
hmm
trust.
yeah,
if someone's building a company and they want to do it the right way and get off the ground, like
Mhm.
tell me sort of your evolution over the last 8 years. Like, what's that looked like to build
Yeah,
that
I
business?
mean, when you start out, keep that overhead as low as possible. There's a lot of things that you can do to multitask. So, something as simple as creating a Facebook and an Instagram page, that's free. You can do that on your own. You start doing some stuff just to kind of, spread the word, and then just go and be out and be present. So, there's kind of a balance, right? You're like, you can't be out every single night because you don't have a lot of money because you just started your company,
Yeah.
but you need people to know who you are and what you do. So, just kind of finding that balance, like, anytime you're somewhere, strike a conversation with somebody. People never, where are you from? Because a lot of people aren't from here. What do you do? Those are like the two openers. So, you just do that enough times and people will start to contact you. Like I've sat at restaurants in the past where those people became clients of mine because we just started chatting. Say, hey, here's my cell phone. And I always say the same thing. It's a little cheesy, but it's true. It's like, I hope you never have to call me. But if you do, now you have somebody.
Yeah.
And like for my business, that's
Sure.
always the case. So just being present and, doing those things that you can for free and then knowing what you can delegate and what you want to keep.
Right.
So like I've had marketing people in the past. Going forward, I just want to be the person who markets. No one's going to market DryPro better than Adrian.
Sure.
And my guys can do the work that they're really good at, that they're better than me at. I know how
Yeah.
to do it. They excel at it. They're doing it
Sure.
every day.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it's just building the relationships, man. Like my friends are the people that I am in business with that refer me. Like you're a prior client. I have prior clients that are my friends. When stuff happens, I want them to think of me. But it's really just like, that you said the power of the
Yeah.
referral. Like people know you and they trust your work. So you just build it that way. Like it's
Yeah.
a lot of it's been organic. I never spent a penny on SEO yet. I'm sure the SEO people are chiming in right now and and on digital, but that formula has worked. But as we scale, obviously that's gonna change.
Things will
But
change. Yeah.
yeah, but I mean it's great that my referral partners are my friends and they get as excited as I do to refer me as I do to refer them and
Yeah.
to watch our businesses grow. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
if I refer you a client, I'm gonna be like, hey Mike, how'd it go with so and so? Like they client, yeah, because I care
Yeah.
for your business, that's impactful.
Right. Right.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, the business owner thing is like finding the right roles, the right seats.
yeah,
You at the very beginning do everything, and
yeah,
then there's a time where like, all right, I got to start relinquishing some of these roles and find really good people to do certain things. But then you're like,
yeah,
okay, I can't get too far removed from this because again, no one will always care as much as you do, but you
right,
want to find people that do care. Um, and that's been sort of the sort of inflection point when I bring on people. It's like, all right, finding someone that really cares about the vision and is
yeah,
wrapped around that and cares about the impact they can make in the business and helping people. Um, but of course, they're not the business owner,
of
right?
course, yeah. They're an
So,
employee still.
you still have to
Yeah,
understand that, but be able to relinquish, okay, I gotta sort of give that off to somebody to do that job, but then also have to measure and make sure
yeah,
that it's being done to the standards and expectations so they know our expectations are.
yeah,
Um, and as you grow, it just sort of like you have to keep getting better at that and getting
yeah,
better at people.
mhm,
I'm really good at the people that I work with, like
yeah,
client wise and the relationships and
right, of course.
right. But then you also have to be really good at the people you bring in
Mhm,
and build the culture. And like everybody I've talked to about building a company, it's been like, okay, the culture you're establishing, the culture
yeah,
you're establishing. And like culture can get really shallow. It's like if we have a good culture, but what
mhm,
actually is the culture? We
right,
do the right thing, we
yeah,
follow with people,
right.
we
It's not
care
the
about
pizza
them.
party on Friday.
Yes.
That's not culture.
That's not culture.
Yeah,
Hey, pizza.
exactly.
It's like, great.
Yeah,
Thanks for the
you see the
Domino's.
stuff on Instagram,
Yeah.
like, "Talk to my boss, wanted a raise, pizza."
Here's a pizza party.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, I'm
Yeah.
with you, like, the culture
Yeah.
is big,
Like,
like,
are we helping
that's
you get to your vision?
yeah. And
Yeah.
as you're building, I think it's so important, and I learned this sort of the hard way. Once I took over 100%, what am I really good at and what am I not good at? And
Yeah.
finding people that are good at the things you're not good at. The
Yeah.
first thing I did, I hired a bookkeeper and she's amazing. And I don't do bookkeeping and she keeps me on my T's and Q's about everything. And every, we talk every couple months, but I don't have to worry about bookkeeping. I have
Yeah.
a bookkeeper.
Yeah.
And then it was branding. I got the vans wrapped. I was like, we need to have a mobile billboard. This thing needs to look XYZ. So yeah, I was like, branding, I'm a
Yeah.
little bit familiar with. I can do the relationship. I'm not good at some of the administrative stuff, so delegate some of that stuff out.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember when I worked at Target over 10 years ago, the executives at the time were like, delegate, follow up, delegate, follow up. I'm like, is anyone working here? But you kind of see, like, as you grow your team, like, all right,
Yeah.
the things that you can do really well,
Yeah.
do those and then delegate the other stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Just keep delegating and asking. follow-up questions. Make sure
Yeah,
you guys getting done to your standards. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, obviously, you and I have a lot of experience in the referral business,
Mhm.
right? Getting
Yeah.
referrals and building a business off referrals, and those are the best clients typically. Not to say
Yes.
other clients can't be good, but
Right.
you're not necessarily fighting objections. It's pre-established trust. There's higher propensity to close and
Mhm.
do good work,
Yeah.
and less not necessarily, but typically upfront less cost, right? I don't have to
Mhm.
go spend a bunch of money on marketing to get,
Oh, for sure.
100 people in to get one to close, right? You're
Yeah.
typically going to get every other person or so. I know my metrics are like every other referral typically will become a client,
Mhm.
or at least let's have a conversation, right? To see if it makes
Right.
sense. Um, Tell me about that. Like, what do you think it takes? You were obviously out there in the community, like
Mhm.
showing up as yourself and being authentic and all the things
Yeah.
that you are. And that's what I've done as well. But what does it really take? Because there's a lot of people that want to do that and
Yeah.
like, I really want to generate a referral business and just be able
Mhm.
to have word of mouth. And
Yeah.
it's obviously tough to just do word of mouth and
Sure.
expand massively,
Mhm.
but quickly anyway, right?
Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
takes time. But what are some of the things that you see people do wrong when
Mhm.
building a referral based business or establishing so
Yeah.
that trust that capacity? And what are the things that you feel like are necessary to do that
Mhm. Yeah, I
in your
think one of,
experience?
like, the big faults is, like, trying to throw a lot of money at something without really fully understanding it. Like, you can hire a marketing person, and they're gonna have their salary and their commission, or you can have your digital person, and if you don't know what that person is doing, like, you really need to dig deep because that's your money that is being spent every single day. They're getting their checks, they're getting their money, and usually the homeowner's the last one, or the business owner's the last one to eat, the last one to get paid on stuff. So
Yeah.
I see something like that where right away, that's probably, in my opinion, from what I've seen, can kind of be a downfall. I think the referrals and the word of mouth is always the best. And the way you do that is just you just get involved. You just go become part of the community. Like we have done so many things together. We've done golf tournaments together. We sponsor different things. So obviously that stuff takes some capital too, but the more connected you are, so like in my phone, there's probably 200 business owners in my phone. So when someone needs something, they can come to me, and now I'm their trusted source, and now they're my friends are getting referrals.
Yeah.
I put you 2 in a group chat, in a group text, "Hey, this is Michael, he's a great guy, you wanna meet?" And
Yeah.
then that's a referral, and, like, that's your business growing right away, and people do that with us as well.
Yeah.
I get a text message and say, "Hey, I got your info from so and so." I think it's just being connected, and you
Yeah.
get connected by just being out there, then you become a resource to
Yeah.
everyone.
And I think the real key component of you get out there and be connected is to go deep with relationships.
Yeah,
I know that Dr. Ivan Meisner, right, the founder of BNI, talks
sure.
about this, but I've always had a very wide pool of
Yeah,
connections,
you know a
like
lot of people.
a lot of people,
Yeah,
right? And I think that's fine. I always got sort of crap from that. My parents, I have too many friends on Facebook or whatever, right?
yeah,
When social media was becoming popular, but
mhm,
I was just that person. I'm like, let me just connect with anybody I possibly can. I
yeah,
liked meeting new people. I've always had large followings. Like my LinkedIn is a crazy following. My Facebook's like maxed out. My
yeah,
Instagram's large. I think like everything I ever had, like I have thousands of connections in my phone,
yeah,
but not everybody there was I deep with enough to that
yeah,
they would think of me first or I would think of them first.
right,
And sometimes I'm like, hey, I know somebody that does, I don't know, you name an industry, right? Like
mhm,
personal injury or anything.
yeah,
And in the past, I'd be like, I know somebody there, but and it's like, I need somebody in that moment, or like you could make a connection for somebody, you just can't. Cause like, I can't remember that person's name.
right,
Right. Like, and there may be a bunch of other people doing some crazy marketing that,
yeah.
you're like, well, I saw this billboard. So let me just give
Exactly.
that
Heard
name.
him on the
Right.
radio, so
Right.
whatever, yeah.
Um, but if you really want to establish, hey, I want to be the first person that comes to somebody in mind, you have to have a strong relationship with people
Mhm.
authentically. Like, you
Yes.
don't have to hang out with assholes
Right, yeah,
that you
exactly.
don't want to hang out with. It
Yeah.
might, whether that hurts or helps your business. But I mean, if you like really want to hang out with somebody you like, right? Like,
Mm.
I know we're gonna hang out, we have a good time, we're friends,
Yeah,
and I can trust you that if I refer somebody, they're gonna do a good job. And so I
right.
automatically think of you first, right?
Yeah.
Um, because we've become connections, not just like shallowly, hey, because we're in a group
No.
together,
Yeah,
let's make a referral. But I think that's the biggest mistake. People show up to all these different things and think like, I'm just gonna network and
sure.
talk to
And
people
it's
and
all gonna come to
throw my
me.
business card out
Yeah.
there. Like, no, you have to like care about the other people more than you care about yourself,
Mhm. Yeah.
and authentically want to know people and help them out because then they're gonna want to help you. And that's I think there's 2 pieces. One comes from a little bit of naivety, people don't get it, but then
Mhm.
2, people just don't care about other people, right? And, like,
Right.
that's pretty clear.
Yeah.
You know, you can, like, weed those people out immediately,
I know
you know?
when I am in business, like, I get more excited to give a referral than to get one because I have a pretty decent established business, so I know that the referrals will come here and there, and, like, my friends are always referring me, which is amazing, but if I can give a really good referral to you or to someone that's part of like, somebody that's in my circle, whether it be in the roofing or plumbing or public adjusting with those people, we're just gonna it all is reciprocal,
Yeah,
and it all just comes back tenfold, so
yeah.
it really is, like, we talk a little bit about BNI and Dr. Meisner, like, the giver's gain mentality. The more you give, the more you gain, like,
It just works.
it is, it's just it's really kinda simple, like, once you meet people, like, don't meet them to see how they can help you, meet them how you can help them,
Yeah,
and then it's gonna come back, so, like,
yeah,
that to me is something that I adopted.
yeah,
It's not always like that because I didn't know how to network, I didn't know how
yeah,
to market. Now I feel very confident, and it's cool, like, I think we're, like, relatively younger guys. There's people with a lot of experience in different fields, and people come to you, people come to me like, "Hey, what are you doing about this?" Or, "I was thinking about this." And I'm like, "Hey, that's great. I would love to introduce you to this person." Like,
sure.
being a connector, when people come to you, like, we're
Yeah,
still young men in our businesses, but
yeah,
we're people that people have gotten to know and trust and
yeah,
be connected with. I
yeah.
think that is priceless.
Yeah, I feel like it's nice to know a lot of people, but it's also better for you if people know of you, right? It's like not
Of
people that
course.
you know, some people know you, like
Yeah.
that they can think of you and be like, oh, Michael or Adrian, like they're gonna be a good connector. And
Yeah.
I do get texts like, hey, who do you have for this? Who do you
Right.
have for this? Because people are like, Michael always has somebody for
Yeah.
me when I need something.
Exactly.
I spend a lot of time going out there and meeting people, so I could be that person. I
Mhm.
authentically want to meet these people too, right?
Right.
And that's just a like a I don't know. It's so important and it's not seen. So if you're starting a business, like you need to have that authentic sort of way about you
For sure.
and go places that you want to be,
Mhm.
right? Like don't go to a place you're like, I don't really want to be here, but I think
Right.
it's good for my business, right?
Yeah,
Like
exactly. Don't sit at Starbucks every day hoping that
yeah,
unicorn walks in. Like, go
yeah,
do stuff that interests you, stuff that you can relate to people. Like,
yeah,
you're very involved with cars
yeah,
and fitness. Like, those are your people. Like,
yeah,
there's certain things that I do that I'm very involved in that I like. So, that's where like you're
yeah.
making those genuine
Right,
connections.
right.
And then we do some out of the box stuff too, like dance in front of everybody at the Ritz Carlton once a year. Like, but that was because
Yes. Yeah, yeah,
you got us in touch with 40 Carats and the Wine, Women, and Shoes event, and we're both going to do that this year. And I made great connections from that last year, personal,
yeah.
that have turned into business
But also you were
opportunities.
like, I'm having fun doing this. You
And it
weren't
was
like,
a
hey,
pl
I'm just here to meet people. Like, no, you're like, oh wow,
yeah,
this is kind of fun.
exactly. You just kind of put a bunch of people in a setting that they're unfamiliar with. We're all in the same boat.
Yeah,
So yeah, you just get to know these people. It's like kind of when you go to college, like
yeah,
you're just like an awkward little freshman. You don't know anybody.
yeah,
We were all doing this dance thing that most of us weren't familiar with. And like, we all had a great time doing it. We
yeah,
raised some money for it. We made a lot of connections. Like we were in the community, met some cool people,
yeah,
met a celebrity, I would say.
yeah. And a
So,
celebrity.
yeah, so stuff like that, man, like, that was a blast, and people see that and people are like, "Okay, cool. Oh, I saw you from that," or, "Oh," like, when people see you, they're like, "Oh, and then what do you do?" It
Right,
comes up,
right.
so, just being out there, man, being
Yeah,
out there
yeah,
as much as possible.
yeah. Good. Yeah. So build relationships with people you want to authentically build relationships with, and it'll like happen. But it's a slower burn. People have to realize
Yep,
you have to put in the effort
yeah,
and spend the time. And I think there was I forget where I got this study from. I'll try to link it in the show notes, but I think it takes 50 weeks or 50 hours with somebody to develop a like casual acquaintanceship with
mhm,
them to where like you guys are okay.
yeah,
But it takes longer than that to develop like a true friendship and a deep friendship. And you like there's a finite capacity to how many, like, and this is again shout out to my buddy Jordan talking about this the other day,
mhm,
like how many people can be in your close circle, right? So you're only gonna have you'll have a few
right,
people that are like your really core friends that and that can happen. You're networking. You're like I'm developing all these relationships and I'm like tired
yeah,
because it's like there's birthday parties for these people and it's like how close am I with all these people, right?
yeah,
And there's probably like a little bit of a larger circle of maybe 30 or so that are like close but not like your everyday
right,
group chat buddies, right?
mhm,
And there's probably a few hundred people that you can be sort of in touch with regularly. So it is a challenge to
yeah,
balance, all that. But you have to be willing to go deep with enough people that are really important to you and that also you feel like you can make an impact for them,
yeah,
because then it's going
that's
to come
it.
back.
Yeah, and it's just like I said, it's just a matter of just constantly doing it. You have to be consistent, so,
Yeah.
at the beginning of the year, I set myself for a goal of 100 networking events for the year. which, all right, sounds kind of like a lot, but if you break it down, it's 2 a week.
Yeah.
So go do 2 things a week other than your normal appointments, and, we're in BNI. Other than that, what else? And this is my 3rd networking event today.
Yeah.
So, like, I had a lunch and learn with a property management group with a roofing buddy of mine. I was in a meeting this morning. So, like, it's just being
Yeah.
consistent about it, and you put it on your calendar, make sure you're consistent with it, and then it happens. So,
Show up.
and then you get good at it too. So then it's fun. Like, this
Yeah.
isn't work. Like, we're
Yeah.
just talking and promoting ourselves, and, just having people know a little bit more about us. It's like we're
Yeah.
not selling anything. It's
Yeah.
just, this is Michael. Like, this is Adrian. Like,
Yeah.
let's put this out there because we care about each other.
Sure.
So that's the best thing, man. I love it.
So, so as you look forward in your business, what do you see as sort of the biggest opportunities from a
Mhm.
business owner
Yeah.
standpoint? And what do you think is the biggest challenges from a business owner standpoint
Yeah.
in
So
your
I'll go
company?
challenges first. So we're always going to kind of be in that scaling where it's like, do we get a new vehicle? Do we hire another person? Do we get a operations manager? Do we get like a back office person? So all of those decisions are something that we think about all the time. I say we, I'm the decision maker. So like I have my guys, but I wear a lot of hats in my company.
Yeah.
Like I can call myself the marketing director because I am the one that generates all of the leads. I do the marketing for DryPro. I do some administrative, but so that's the challenge is kind of figuring out as we scale, um, doing that in a way that's efficient and cash flow efficient more than anything. And then opportunities, I see them, like it's just continuing to grow. I said expansion. I think potential for franchising is an opportunity as well. We're very lucky with DryPro Inc. I'm
Yeah.
the only DryPro Inc. in the state.
Nice.
There's some other DryPro something something somethings or something 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 DryPro, but we own DryProInc.com. DryPro Inc. is my company, so I think it's also like appealing if
Hmm.
there was a company that wanted to have a conversation about whatever it took to either purchase a company or merge or something. So
Sure.
but franchising is an opportunity and just growing, just continuing to expand. Our business is very mobile. The vans are the business. So we can
Yeah.
start a van and get there. We can pretty much service it and do it well. So
Yeah. That's cool.
yeah, that's the goal, man.
Yeah. There's unlimited possibilities, right?
Yeah, for sure.
That's
I
where you
say
want
we
to take it.
service most of Florida. We don't really get to the Keys or the Panhandle, but that's like the 80% of Florida that's like
Yeah.
right there that we can service. So yeah, but it wasn't like that 5 years ago. We weren't going to Orlando. We weren't going to Jacksonville. We weren't going to Largo. And build those relationships, and now we can, and we can. It's just I met somebody that introduced me to somebody, or property management event or something. So we got to keep doing stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you see as common mistakes of business owners in the trades?
Ooh, that's a good question. Um, I think when you start out and you're like that one man band, like, well, I guess I'll tell you, I'm not the best restoration person at Dry Pro Inc. My guys are because they're in it every single day. So you have to find that way to either somewhat clone yourself or find somebody that you can teach or find somebody that's already has that skill that can do it so you can focus on the business.
Yeah.
Like the really successful business people are probably not at like Morgan and Morgan is a
Yeah.
great example. That's a very big business. But I don't think John Morgan's probably doing that much legal work today. He's running a business. So it's kind of
Yeah.
stepping out from that day-to-day like grind. I always say on the business versus in the business, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's really it.
Yeah.
Like learn it and try
Yeah.
to teach it and continue to grow it.
Yeah. And there's two, like I see somebody who's got a really good business mind. They're like, oh, I can start this business. But then like, okay, I'm not the person who's going to be doing the work versus
Mhm.
I see a lot, especially in the trades. I feel
Yeah,
like someone starts a business in the trades because they're really good at the trade.
right.
And then they get to this point, they're like, wow, we got a lot of business. And
Mhm.
they hit this sort of ceiling
Yeah.
because they're not really a CEO. They're like, I
Mhm.
really just like helping people and do the job I'm really good at.
Yeah.
But
They're an
like
employee to like themselves.
running the company is not really their skill set. They have to
Mhm.
bring in somebody sort of to operationally
Yeah,
run the company.
right.
I see that as a mistake. But
Yeah, and trades
yeah,
especially, where there's probably 1,000 of really good plumbers in town, but how many of them are business owners? Probably
yeah,
not that many. A lot of them might just
yeah,
be employees because they're not willing to take that risk
yeah.
or make that sacrifice
They're
or
accidental business owners. They got to the place like, oh no, like now I'm at
yeah,
this business. And I think it's about identifying that. Like, where am I? It's like, am I at the place where I need to bring in somebody else to be the
right.
business operator?
Mhm.
I think operations is probably one of the key things to being
Yeah,
successful in growing a business, right?
100%. I agree.
It's like you have to have good operations because how can you even do good work if you can't follow up and manage a client load,
Yeah,
like follow up
exactly.
with like, oh, this job is never finished. We never got back to the person who inquired about this
Right.
job, or
Or
the billing's
we never
messed
got
up.
paid.
We never got
Like
billing's messed up.
that
Yeah.
part's super important
Yeah. You
too.
have to get paid
Yeah,
to survive. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So
To
I think that's the
scale.
biggest one. Like,
Yeah.
it's finding that can you either train someone or bring someone on that has the experience. And then if you want to run the business, run it, or if you want to be, just figuring out, I think when you can separate operations and like the day to day,
Yeah.
like that's really probably the
Yeah.
hardest thing. But
Yeah.
when you figure it out, then it clicks and then like you go and you just
Yeah.
full throttle and don't look back, man. Like that's really like the way I see it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
What are what's an unpopular opinion you have about your business or business in general that people usually say the other thing, but you don't believe that?
I think, as I mean, as a business owner, people that are not business owners are like, "What do you do? What do you do every day?" I'm like, "Everything. I do everything." Because I have
All the things.
I have buddies that started at Publix 20 years ago that are still working there. They have their jobs 40, 50 hours, but they clock out and they go home. So like, they're like, "What do you do?" I was like, "Well, I'm running my company. I'm running my crews. I'm working on billing. And I'm working on admin. I'm marketing. I'm networking." So I think people think that like once you're done, you're done, but it doesn't ever stop. And I mean, the business owners can relate. Obviously, we have a lot of business owner friends. We're in the studio right now with business owners, but I think it's funny. Like, oh, I quit my 9 to 5 so I can work 24/7.
Yeah.
So like, I think that's not maybe super unpopular opinion, but I think it
It's
brings
a
to light.
misconception about owning a
Yes.
business. Like, oh, I can do whatever I want. And
Yeah.
there is a sort of a reality to that. I think your ability to do whatever you want comes down to I'm going to work my ass off nonstop for my business because
Yeah.
I want
Exactly.
to do that versus like
Right.
I didn't really want to do that before for somebody else
Yeah.
necessarily. Um, but you also have the freedom to say, typically, if I have something coming up with like my kids, like I can make the choice.
Right.
I can go do that. I don't have to like ask someone else
Yeah,
permission
well,
to
I was telling you,
to live
like,
my
on the
life,
way
right?
here, man, like, I don't know where that little saying came from, but business ownership is the ultimate freedom and the ultimate sacrifice. Like, you give up a lot to gain a lot, but it's a balance of it. Like,
Yeah.
I don't have to be anywhere right now, but I also have to be everywhere because I have to be there for my clients. I have to go to my meetings and stuff. So
Yeah.
it's a matter of, yes, you work for yourself, but you have to work it
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
single day. Like,
Yeah. And listen, there's a lot to be said. Like, obviously, on this podcast, talk about a lot about leadership, like
yeah,
people in leadership roles or ownership roles. I think, there's a difference, obviously, in the sort of the path you take to be an entrepreneur and an owner of business versus, corporate ladder, leading
right.
people in that capacity. There's a lot of things you need to do both. You need to
Absolutely.
be an expert. So, but the business ownership side is just a different animal than
Mhm.
that.
Yeah. And
Um,
that's not to like poo poo people that
no,
work in
there's a
these great corporate
lot of
jobs. I know
skills.
very smart,
Yeah.
successful people in roles making great
Yeah.
incomes. So there's a lot of
Yeah.
probably things that
And there's a
translate
lot
between the
there. You
two.
have to navigate the complexities of relationships interdepartmentally. It's like you
Exactly.
you can be a entrepreneur in those situations,
Oh, I
right?
like
The good
that.
ones are entrepreneurs. I think they're really good with people, they're
Yeah.
good at operations, like you're part of something important, but it's just a different world than that
Sure.
when you're on the sort of other side of it. So,
Mhm.
it's
That check doesn't always hit every 2 weeks when
yeah,
you're on the
yeah,
ownership or
yeah.
entrepreneurial side.
Yeah, everyone else
So
has to eat first. You have to,
yeah.
that's one of the things. It's like, well, you got to make a living, but you also, when you're trying to, fulfill a vision, everyone else gets paid first, like you said before, the marketing team, but your staff, like they're
Hmm.
gonna get their paycheck before you get profits.
Right.
And
Exactly.
hopefully one day you're profiting a lot, and that happens, and
Yeah.
people can say, "Hey, I have a business, I can take time off." But it took a lot to get there.
Oh,
It
for
takes a
sure.
lot to get there, and it takes a lot to keep it there.
Yeah.
You know, and I've seen it, right? Someone gets a business scaled up and then they're like, okay, I can take it easy. And then of course the business starts to like slowly drift. And everyone's
Right.
like, I didn't want to believe that that was actually going to happen to me. But then they're like, it's happened to me. And like, I'm
Yeah.
20 years into this and I thought I'd be able to take my foot off the gas or like be less in touch, but I can't. I got to be
Hmm.
involved. And
Yeah.
I was listening to the podcast with Brandon Dawson today and I'm forgetting his name, but the founder of North Face,
Hmm.
and he was saying, as soon as you stop having a desire to like keep growing and keep impacting more in your company, you really should get out of it because
Yeah.
you're going to start tanking it. It's not meant to just be something where you just grow and just let it like coast.
Right.
It usually starts to sort of lose its edge,
Yeah, if like the
you know?
hunger is not there, like
Yeah.
who's gonna be hungrier than the owner? Like if
Yeah.
you're not setting that tone, that leadership, that vision, like
Yeah.
There's not going to be the people below you that are
Yeah.
going to be, oh, I want to grow this thing to the moon, because they're not as incentivized. So yeah,
Yeah.
like if you are scaling and growing, like you talk about it, as exit strategy, and that's something you're dealing with all the time. Like you still have to work it to get there. And as you're scaling, and if you start to get too hands off, it can, it can probably backfire a little bit in the
Yeah.
business. Like
Yeah.
that's the balance every day.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. Don't get too comfortable.
yeah.
What's some good advice you've gotten, and sort of who have been people you've relied on for guidance, advice over time, and what would you say to others?
Yeah, I mean, I have a few like uh, close friends of mine that I've known a long time, and that are really good at networking. They're really good marketers. So I have like mentors in business. Like I look up to you in the networking sense, because you are extremely connected, and we've done a lot of stuff together. I love that about you. Like I love what we're doing right now. Our buddy
Thanks, man.
Bob, who, yeah, of course, bro, you're welcome. Our buddy Bob, who is someone that is very successful business person. He, has more letters after his name than I do. So I can speak to him about some things that might be some higher level, like some textbook stuff, like
Yeah.
we both have our degrees, but he has got a master's. Like, all right, let's talk. We loves to talk about EBITDA. I was like, listen, you tell me all about EBITDA, because that's not what I'm good at.
Yeah.
So, having those mentors. So I have people like that I've known you guys through networking. And then just in general, like obviously, like my dad was somebody I looked up to, but he worked for the government for 40 years. So when he saw me take this entrepreneurial plunge, he was like a big, like, I don't think it's gonna work. Like, good luck. Like, it's like, what did
Yeah.
you mean water damage? How does that happen all the time? I'm like, there's a lot of houses here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I look up to him in that sense. But on the business side, my former business partner was someone that, was very business savvy. And then having a lot of friends that are successful in sales roles. Like I have some friends that own like a couple of solar companies, and that are in roofing, and they have sales teams, and like those guys are just grinders, and they do trainings, and they bring people in to teach them
Yeah.
how to sell. Like those are the people that I'm like, all right, picking a little bit of the brains from everybody, to, because I've seen where they started, seen where they're growing to. So
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of people just like my circle, but we're talking all the time now,
Yeah.
because they're
Yeah.
the people
Yeah.
that are, in my business referring, and I'm referring out. So
It
yeah,
all comes back. All
for
big
sure.
circle.
Yeah.
Well, I know you listen to a lot of podcasts, and you sort of ping me every so often about it.
Yeah.
What are you listening to right now? Anything that you feel like is
So
extra
I just have to
helpful?
ask you. I ask you, what you're the podfather for me. So yeah,
Podfather,
or the master caster. I don't know which one.
Mastercaster.
I'll text, because like I'm on the road a lot. So like I
Yeah.
texted you the other day. I was like, hey, I gotta drive to Lake Wales. I've never been to this part of the state. And I saw it was 90 minutes, all back roads. So I listened to at least one of your episodes on the way there. The one with Don Carlson. Shout out to Don from Tweeds.
Nice.
Love your stuff. So I'm not as much into podcasts listening to them unless I know the person. So like I have a couple friends that have just started some. So I really just want to see what my friends are doing, and just be there and support them. But
That's cool.
when I need one, I'm gonna ask you.
Nice.
I'm just gonna ask you for sure.
Well, you've been a networking educator for our group for
Yeah.
the last year, and you've had a lot of good tidbits.
Hmm.
What do you think? I think when I was in that role for our networking group, right?
Hmm.
Shout out to the BNI Business Focus,
That's right.
but it forces you to learn a lot, right? It's
Hmm.
like a good role. Like I
Yeah.
I, I attempt to read regularly, and listen to podcasts regularly, just so I'm like learning something new, even if it's
Yeah.
like, hey, I got one tidbit out of this.
Right.
Just forgot about it or didn't think about it.
Hmm.
What are some of the things that over the course of that year, just because you spend a little extra time
Yeah.
like educating others, that you felt
Sure.
like you picked up that was helpful?
Yes, I do force myself to have to listen to, some of the CEUs that they have, the continuing education units, to where there's always like a little tidbit here, a little tidbit there. Just you listen to something for 15 minutes, and if you got one thing out of it, then it was worth your time.
Yeah.
So really, like with what we're doing with our BNI families, I like to call it, like just all of the little networking tips about like do's and don'ts. Like when you meet somebody, like don't make it about you, make it about them. Like make sure that, like, let them tell their story. Like I've known that for years. Like
Yeah.
people love to tell their story. Part of the reason probably why I'm here,
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and it's funny, like you see stuff like on Instagram, the guy that's like, hey, what do you do for a living to have a Ferrari? Like then these people start telling their stories. So
Yeah.
just being a really good listener. I
Yeah.
have a good friend of mine. He goes, two ears, one mouth. You learn more when you
Yeah.
listen than
Yeah.
when you're talking. So like to me, that's probably the biggest one.
Yeah.
Just like when you meet somebody, shake their hand, remember their name.
Oh, that's the hard one.
Remember their name.
That's a hard one.
I know.
I've gone through waves of being good and bad at that, and I'm
Yeah.
like, in college, my buddy Bobby, my best friends, was
Mhm.
like, every time we go somewhere, he'd be like, "Hey, you remember all their names, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do." And this was blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And I could rattle off like 10 people that we met in
Mhm.
this, in like a 30-minute period.
Yeah.
And then there was a time like, "What's going on?" Like, I don't remember anyone's name I just met. I think
Uh-huh.
his name was Harry. I don't
Right.
know. It
Yeah,
was
yeah,
like
yeah.
completely wrong names, like James or something,
Uh-huh.
right? Like,
I know.
so yeah, that is important. I
Yeah.
sing it
So
back
when
to
it's like
somebody.
one or two people, then it's a
Yeah,
little
it's a
bit
little
easier. A
easier. Yeah.
group, it can be tough.
Sometimes I'm
But
like,
yeah, I
how did I
think
forget the person's name? I talk to them every day, you know? It's
yeah.
like,
So like the lunch and learn I just did, it was a lot of property managers, and then one of the ladies was like, "Hey, the president's about to walk in." I'm like, "All right, cool." Somebody that I want to make sure that I get to meet, shake his hand. This guy's name was Barry. I was like, "Barry, pleasure, nice to meet you." He had a nice compliment to me, so like we had a good interaction. But I have his card, and I got his first name, and he knows who Adrian
yeah,
DryPro is now.
yeah,
That to me is invaluable. Like
yeah,
when he owns a property management company that with a lot of properties and a lot of managers, like those are the people I want to
sure.
continue to meet with.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but yeah, listen and
Always
2 ears, one
listen.
mouth, and eye contact,
Yeah,
just the little stuff, but
yeah. I think
people
it's important to be really good at sales
yeah.
in all of this. Like, you're always selling yourself, selling the vision, selling something, right, in life. So if people say that they're not good at sales, like, you're not gonna go very far, in my opinion, because you
Yeah.
need to sell something. You just sell the person you're gonna date. I mean, it's
Mhm.
sold on you, right?
Exactly, yeah.
But selling doesn't mean they're talking regularly, it's asking questions. And that's the biggest
Mhm.
thing when I was in a leadership role and I was coaching, like, new salespeople.
Yeah.
You get like, "Okay, get on this phone call. I'm gonna hop on with you as, like, the mentor and
Mhm.
listen," and, like, you just there to start talking. You're like, verbal diarrhea. Like, you gotta
Uh-huh. Yeah.
stop, just ask questions. Like,
Mhm.
please, I know there's a lot of knowledge rattling around in your brain, but, like, they don't need to know it all right now.
Right.
Like, they don't care right now.
Of course, they don't,
Yeah,
and they're not
and
listening because
no.
it's too much.
Yeah, and I think, I don't forget where this came from. Someone please tell me where, but it's like people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, right? It's like
Yes.
that relationship, the referral, going back to the relationships and the referrals. People know that you care because you were put together with that person because of a mutual connection or
Yeah,
something. Okay,
exactly.
we know Adrian cares, right?
Yeah.
Now they care how much you know,
Right.
and not necessarily to hear it all, but they
Yeah.
just care that you have an expertise and they're going to be willing to listen and follow your guidance.
Yeah.
They don't really care if you just start spitting stuff at
Yeah.
them, and
And there's a point too where you have to stop selling. Like, stop
yeah.
selling is funny. Like, I watch a lot of Shark Tank. I'd like to say I'm a Shark Tank University graduate, and I learned and you learn a lot
Yeah,
of stuff there. You start learning
yeah,
about like perpetuity and all of these things that, just it's funny because certain other
yeah,
people on there have like their things that they do with their royalties and everything.
yeah,
But there's a point where like they say, like I've heard it a few times, stop selling. And
yeah,
sometimes like the investor will be like, I'm out
yeah.
because they just
Too
stop selling and
much.
just listen. And I
Yeah,
know there's nerves and stuff, but just
sure.
listen. What I've heard something seek first to understand,
Yeah,
then to be understood,
yeah,
which is the same type of thing. Like what you just said about the care. Like
yeah,
people want to know how much you care. Like
yeah.
that
They know
analogy. I
you
think,
care if you're looking to understand what their situation
yeah,
is. Yeah,
exactly. So understand
yeah.
first.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah. The simple one is though, 2 ears, one mouth. Two
Just
ears,
remember
one
that. 2
mouth.
ears, 1 mouth.
If there's one takeaway, 2 ears, one mouth
I love it.
for sure. And then,
So before we wrap up, if you could give some advice to really any business owner
mhm,
just getting started, or you know, someone coming to the country, starting a business, or
yeah.
anything that you feel like you can sort of make an impact, that, and then two, would there any, if there was one thing you could tell your sort of younger self, if you go back like 20 years, what would it
hmm
be?
So the first one, so like a new entrepreneur, a new business owner, just go for it and grind for it. Like it's gonna be ugly. It's gonna be a lot of things. And then in the end, it's just like it's beautiful because
Yeah.
you built something. Like you hatched a baby and you're
Yeah.
creating this little thing and it turns into something that's amazing. We're both dads. We've seen our little ones
Yeah.
grow. Like it's really hard, but as it grows, it's like the most beautiful thing on earth. Like you treat your business like your baby too. You have to
Yeah.
nurture it and feed
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So just grind, go get it, and then do something that gives back. Get involved in the community. Get involved however you can. You can make a
Yeah.
small donation. You donate your time, like I've done.
Yeah. Time
Yeah,
donation.
Salvation Army. I did that. That was an amazing experience. Just serving people that are underfed. Like that's a big deal. Like
Sure.
in our town, 30
Yeah.
minutes away. So doing stuff like that, I think, is you don't do it for the social media. You do it because you want to help.
Yeah.
But again, it comes up. So,
Yeah.
and then your
Yeah.
second question was, what would I tell my younger self
Yeah.
about business?
Anything. If you could, like, aside
Yeah.
from like the Powerball numbers, like what would
Yeah,
you
right.
go back and
So
tell your younger self?
it's funny because I
Any
graduated
a little bit.
college like pretty early at 21, like 2 weeks after my 21st birthday with a business management degree and like this much management experience. So who's going to hire a 21-year-old kid to do management? So what I would say today is like, I would probably have gone to school maybe another year or two. I think that would be one of the advices, and the other one is, just get involved in the community more. Like, I worked like a restaurant job and I worked a retail job where, you can meet people, but like if you can get involved with some sort of organization or something that you have
Sure.
like some interest in, like that's going to get you in front of the right
Yeah.
people and in
Yeah.
front of the right places and in front of the right opportunities. Like it's really like a lot of it is, man, is who you know. Like this
Yeah.
town is so well connected. People love to support local, so
Yeah.
people start to know you and they want you to succeed too. So just getting connected, however avenues that you
Yeah.
can.
Listen, I mean, everything is experience, and I feel people like when they don't, maybe they feel like, hey, I don't have a lot to offer. Offering time to anybody, your time, which is like probably the most valuable thing, is a
Yeah.
lot to offer. Even if you're just offering your time to like lend a hand or
Right.
just be there, right? So I really like what you're saying there. Just like get involved in some capacity. Just give you some of your time. Like
Yeah.
that's the ultimate gift. The reality is like, you can go earn more money. You cannot get more time. Right. So giving some time to people is like the most important thing, I feel like. Um, and then I did like what you said about just like it's gonna be ugly. You gotta work through it.
Yeah.
There's a good book. It's called Atomic Habits. Success is not linear.
Hmm.
There's usually this like really big dip in the beginning where like I thought I was gonna be here and you're not. And
Yeah.
then you keep pushing, 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 and then all of a sudden you're exponentially better than you were before. But it wasn't what you thought. You never thought it was gonna be, hey, I'm just gonna work and it's gonna be, this one
Right.
straight line. There's all these like pictures about that. You look up entrepreneurship, like that's what you see, like someone
Hmm.
pushing a boulder up a hill, right?
Right.
And there's like a pit and snakes in the pit and stuff
Yeah.
like that,
Exactly.
right? But that's
Right.
just the reality. And it's important. I think what you said there, because you're going to be in a place where you're like, oh no, like we're in debt or the business isn't coming in or like employee left or
Yeah.
something happened and like why am I doing this sort of thing, right? In
Yeah.
those days. And then you got to remember all the things that you did that are positive and impactful and you have to have a long-term vision.
Hmm.
You get into it just for the money or something
Right.
quickly, like you're gonna be out of it so quick.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly. Yeah.
well, cool, man.
100%.
Well, thanks for coming on.
Mike,
It's awesome
appreciate you,
having
bro.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah, man.
Appreciate you,
My
Michael.
brother.